I got a two-part question because I was listening to a lady called Ruth Roning. And she was talking about she was adopted herself, and she was speaking about how, you know, like she's the physical embodiment of trauma from her birth parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she often spoke about how she knew she was adopted similar to you because she was just so different from her parents. Like she came from a family of athletes. So when she was growing up, she was wanting to go swimming. She was very athletic. She wanted to do sports, but then her parents were just not like that. So she often talked about having identity crisis.
Yeah.
She listed off a bunch of things, so like suicide rates, crime, etc.
Yeah.
But because of that identity issue, there was that lack of understanding of self. So for yourself, how was it with like your identity? And secondly, how would you curb that as a parent that's adopted? Like how would you mitigate the identity issues that might happen with kids that are?
I think if you think about an adopted child as, and please interrupt me if I'm like way off here, like a house with crumbling foundations.
Yes.
Your job as
I
the
use that
adopted
analogy
parent
myself.
is to shore up those foundations as much as you can. And if you have subsidence, there's only so much you're going to be able to do. Do you know what I mean? There's only so much you're going to be able to do, depending on how the child comes to you. But that's your job, to just love them and give them, and not even just love them, give them tight, concise boundaries. And a lot of people don't understand this, that they think you should just let children be free. But children get worried when they've got no rules. If you think about walking on a rope bridge, if you had no sides, you'd feel unsteady. What makes you feel safe is that you've got tight railings to guide you to your destination. And that's what adopted children, I think, in my view, that they need. And also you need to be truthful about their background. That's where the identity thing comes in. And you need to be honest about what happened to them. And I think you need to choose good schools. You need to make sure that your family is supportive. And I think the school, choosing a good school that understands how to work with adopted children is really important, because a lot of adopted children suffer from attachment disorder. So that's really important. And yeah, that's my view on that, really.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. I mean, I used to think that my parents were quite strict growing up, but in retrospect, I see why it was necessary, because when you have your foundation is essentially broken, the house is always wobbly. So if you've got all of that unknown chaos, if you don't have structure in place, you can descend into that chaos at any point. So you need something to grab, you need something to hold on to. And that's why adoption's so good, because for people like myself who have come from complete chaos, to have a stable line that I always know I can cling on to, it's life-saving, really, because chaos kills. It really can. And like you were saying, that lady talks about suicide rates. It doesn't shock me at all, because the whirlwind of emotions involved in adoption are so complex. There's not one feeling or another that you feel. It's every emotion you could possibly imagine, and there's a lot of different things involved. I have always suffered with, I call them existential crises rather than identity crises, because, you know, I know what I like and I know what I don't like and things like that. But questions that have always entered my mind is, you know, which we all do at some point, but I feel like when you're adopted, you start to question these things perhaps a lot younger. I would go to my dad and ask him questions like, why am I here? What's the point to life? Why is this my life, and what's the point to everything? And it really opens up all these philosophical questions, but at a really young age.
Is that because you don't come from them that you had the questions?
Yeah, so when you know that there's something different about you, in the sense of, one thing for me, just me personally, that was really mind-blowing is the fact that when you go see your mum, and I mean you guys, I assume you're neither of you are adopted, you're both with your biological parent or parents. When you go see your mum, how does it not blow your mind you came out of her? how do you not look at her stomach and think, oh my God, I was in there? Because for me, that concept is alien to me. I can't even conceptualize that. So, you know, I see my mum as my mum, my adopted mum, and I see my dad as my dad. But the thought of actually sharing blood and flesh and actually coming from being a product of, I can't conceptualize.
There's a barrier.
There's a barrier. I can't understand it. And that's why I personally think, I don't know, I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I personally think that most adopted children do want to meet their biological parents. And I don't think it's because they want to reconnect with them and then be with them forever. I think it's more just a conceptual thing to be able... It's a piece of a puzzle. Exactly. To be able to point and go, oh, that's where I came from. Because you can know all the stories, you can know all the facts and details, you can know why it's necessary. But really, like, I think seeing it in the flesh would make all the difference.